The album is very like reminds me in some ways of Kendrick Lamar, if he had a band behind him like the Roots and he sounded like Joe Budden. Is that kind of crazy? But I would take Odyssey over Joe Budden any day, really. What up, though, y'all? We here with another Raptors recommendations, man. It's a segment on my channel where I review an album that has been recommended by one of my producers, San Raptor. And this week, he has recommended Oddisee, The Good Fight. And I gotta say, I've never heard Oddisee, but he's on my radar now. Let's get it.
Generation hate, generation made mistakes, generation to the metal, not generally pumping brakes, generations through the loans, generation on the phone, generation can't generate enough to get a loan for a business or a house, no equity for a home, apartment complexes and cubicles all alone.
Okay, so starting things off, it starts off at a really strong 9 out of 10 for me. This album starts off really well. That's Love being the first song on here is a great start off. Wouldn't have had it any other way. It's a song about doing what someone needs rather than what they want. And this album is full of messages and lines that will make you think rather than it's being bar heavy or rather than it being commercial heavy. It's more full of like jazz vibes that and lines that make you think, yeah, I never thought about it like that. And I love that because he's telling stories, and it's one of them albums that just comes off as sort of a jazz hip hop album, and I love that about it. That's right up my alley. So then we got Contradictions Maze, which is a really good track, one of the best ones on here. A couple tracks after that, we got First Choice, one of the best songs on here. And, it's just, that's what I mean, how it started off great. And not that it ends bad, but I think it just ends on more an average level. And so after going through the first half of the album, I was like, yeah, this is going to be a really good album. This is going to be an amazing album, in fact. But then after finishing it, and maybe that's because the last song I didn't like, Worse Than Better, I feel like that was the only song on here I'm really not feeling. And I think it's the rhythm that they chose. They're not off rhythm, but it's sort of a rhythm that's uncontemporary. And a lot of uncontemporary themes here that are just like uncommercial. There's no commercialism in this album whatsoever, and I feel like that's a little bit of a mistake. I'm not usually one to be like, what music needs? More commercialism. Like, no, we don't need that, but it can help if a hook gets you and stuck in your head afterwards, right? There's none of that happening here. Has music changed me? Has the industry infected me in a way where now I need a little commercialism? Now I need a good hook to appreciate something? Am something wrong with me? Is something wrong with me? Or maybe not, maybe I'm just fine. But I feel that it needs a little something in there, like it's missing something, and I love all the instrumentals, so it's hard to pin it down. I love all of his lyrics. It's hard to pin that down. Maybe it's the structure of the album that seems like everything is maybe the same tempo, the same mood, the same vibe. It's very monotonous. And so when you're listening to the first half of the album, you're like, yeah, this is really good. And then you're getting more of that same thing, which is very cohesive sounding. But sometimes you need to break up the tempo of an album with like one that's a little bit harder, a little bit more fast, and a little bit more slow, just break up the tempo of the albums a little bit. So I think maybe that's a mistake, but even then, it's hard for me to pin down why I don't think it's amazing after finishing the album. I think it's really good, but Oddisee is definitely one of them artists that have like wordplay and thinker bars. It's not like bars that just like punch you in the face and like Eminem or Lil Wayne bars or something like that. It's not like someone who is all bars or something like Lil Wayne, not talking about really anything. It's very thinker lines, wordplay, rhyme scheme is always on point. And then there's some bars in there that really, nothing that makes you go, no, nothing that makes you go, ooh, it's just like all really good, and that's what it is. And, it sort of comes off, if you like the Roots, you like Black Milk, you like sort of these little brother or something like that, you'll love Odyssey. So I recommend checking out this album if you like those artists, especially the Roots. I feel like they're heavily Roots inspired. That could be that the band is behind all this, and the band does a really good job, which brings me to my next point. If this album was a live performance, it'd be a 10 out of 10 for sure. For me, I would love to see this guy live with his band Good Company, I think they're called. But this is really really good in terms of like what the possibilities are for a live performance, because if a rapper without a band, it's just him standing up there, you know what you're going to get. But when you get a rapper with a band, now all of a sudden we got 30 other people on stage, and he's got to have horn players and the background singer and then keyboardist and drummer and the bass player. He's got to have all these things in place. And I feel like that would be the vibe to go for this. That's probably where Odyssey excels, is live performances, which is great for him because that's what he's going to make money on. But then if you got to split it that many ways, but I know he's getting money in other ways. I ain't worried about that. But yeah, I gotta say, this is one of them albums that hit me. I was like, man, this is refreshing. Refreshing is the right word for it because it's so uncontemporary and it's so in a way that's just not what the normal is, that this is some more of what we need. This is more what I need. I know I said I need commercialism, but I don't. This is like me getting off of the commercialism drug, so to speak. I did want to talk about the song Belong to the World for a bit because that comes off like sort of one of the breaks in the refreshing breaks in the tone of the album. It's very, very hip hoppy, very raw, very old school, very like it's not that jazzy. This comes off as some hard hip hop hitting in it and for most of that song, and I thought that was refreshing. One of the ones where he's just got a lot of wordplay on there, a lot of great lyrics and stuff, and he doesn't necessarily change his performance a lot of times. He's sort of rapping like if Joe Budden had passion still. He sounds like Joe Budden. That's why I say that. But I would take Odyssey over Joe Budden any day, really. Just based off of, I feel like Joe Budden's gonna have the upper hand in terms of like the how the public views him because more people know about him. But if everybody knew about both, I feel like they would choose Odyssey. But yeah, that's not why I'm talking about the song, but little sidebar. But yeah, then there's book covers, which is a song, a couple songs from there. It's just has one of the best hooks of the album, has one of the best choruses of the album. Don't judge a book by its cover if it's not, that's very, that one can get in your head, but it's not like a great hook, but it is a hook that stands out to me, I'll say. And then there's What Those Say, which is a song that could be a title track. They could have called it The Good Fight if they wanted to, but chose not to, which I find is interesting because it definitely could have been called The Good Fight. But they called it What They'll Say. And it's very funky. It's very bare bones in terms of instrumentation, which I think was a mistake. But of course, the funkiness is great. Comes off like Odyssey rapping over a James Brown song or something, like instrumental or something like that. So very, very cool. I love that about it. But the chorus, I really didn't. When the lady starts singing, I really felt that she's a great singer, but I wasn't really vibing with it too much. I was sort of like waiting for it to stop. The album is very like reminds me in some ways of Kendrick Lamar. If he had a band behind him like the Roots and he sounded like Joe Budden. Is that kind of crazy? I guess it is. But yeah, I do. That was the second before the last one, and I did like that song, but it was very bare bones. And so that one was like, okay. And then they do Worse Than Better, and I told you I didn't like that one because of the rhythm of it. So that's the way it ended for me, and it kind of left me wanting more, so to speak, or at least wanting something different to end it on. I think maybe taking one of those tracks in the beginning of the album and ending it with that would have been a better choice to kind of just leave somebody off with on a good note, you know. But I understand these days people don't really listen to the end of the album. It's a shame. We're not living in the times of people listening to albums anymore. People are still making them because artists like making a cohesive album. They like making cohesive projects. We're living in a single world now, you know, singles. And I understand that, but so when people are making albums, they tend to pick some of their less ones they think will be less popular at the end because that's when you get the least amount of streams, the least amount of audience retention. So I'm sure that's not what they're thinking here, but I didn't like the way the album ended. I gotta say that. But overall, the album is fire. The band is fire. I think just having instrumental of this would be fire. This would be if this is an instrumental album, it'd be fire. And just listening to everything, I say I gotta rate the album about a 8 out of 10. You know, I was gonna do a 9 based off of the beginning of the album, and then after like a second or third playthrough, I was going to do a 7, but I gotta say it holds up. It holds up. So I'm gonna do an 8 out of 10. It's a fire album. I really like it a lot. It's refreshing. It's different. You know, it's jazzy. It's funky. It's hip hop. You know, it's all the above. You know, and if there was a little bit more commercialism in there, just to tie everything together, just a little bit of giving what the people what they want, so to speak, could have been a 10 out of 10, I'd say. And that's the only improvements I'd probably make besides changing last couple songs. Let me know what y'all think. Have you heard of Oddisee? I haven't before today. He's definitely on my radar now, though, like I said. So I will be checking out more of him. I want to see him live for sure. Live performance would be fire. Let me know what y'all think, man. Peace.